What's the code for your phone? What's the code? What's the fucking code? Come on, what's the code for your phone? Get down! Get down! Get in the corner. Come on, come on.
The film begins with a video showing the growth of a girl named Kayla, who was raised with love by her parents, Jay and Rebecca. However, as the years passed, Jay and Rebecca saw their marriage fail and they eventually divorced. Then, by the time Kayla was 15 years old, her mother had already moved on and had a new boyfriend named Greg. Aside from dealing with her parents' split, Kayla also suffered from asthma. That day, on a cold winter day, Kayla and Rebecca took Greg to the airport because he had business out of town. After dropping him off, they both then went to Jay's house, where he also had a new girlfriend named Trini. The reason they were there was that Jay had promised to take Kayla to her ballet class that day. However, Kayla did not really like ballet, but Rebecca was convinced that her daughter would one day be a great dancer and forced her to do it anyway. The situation was a bit awkward for everyone at that time, so Rebecca said her goodbyes and left quickly, while Trini also headed off to work. As a child in this situation, Kayla felt very uncomfortable. Meeting both her father's new girlfriend and her mother in such a short time was stressful, and she had to use her inhaler to calm herself down. On the way to the ballet class, Kayla was surprised to see her good friend Brittany waiting at a bus stop, so she immediately asked her father to give her friend a ride. Then, while they continued their journey, Jay was a bit surprised to hear Brittany speak rudely and curse about her own father. As they continued the drive, Jay, who turned out to be a vocalist for a band, played a song from his band, and Brittany seemed to really like it. On the other hand, Kayla noticed a small bruise on the cheek of Brittany and asked about it, but her friend refused to answer. Not only that, but Kayla also felt uneasy because Brittany seemed to be teasing her father. After a while, Brittany asked to pull over because she needed to use the bathroom. After waiting for some time without the girls returning, Jay went into the woods to look for them. After searching for a while, he eventually heard screaming and was shocked to find Kayla sitting on a bridge railing with a look of pure terror. He immediately pulled his daughter to safety and asked where her friend was, but Kayla seemed too shocked to say anything. Then, when he saw the pink bag belonged to Brittany on the riverbank and realized her body was nowhere to be seen, he panicked, thinking she had been swept away by the fast current. It was at this moment that Kayla made a shocking confession. She explained that they had started arguing because she found Brittany's attitude annoying, as she flirted with Jay. But then, the argument escalated until Kayla accidentally pushed her friend into the river. While still in a panic, Jay told Kayla to duck down because a truck was passing by and he did not want any witnesses to see them there. After that, once the area was safe, he immediately took his daughter to the office where Rebecca worked as a lawyer. His goal was to tell his ex-wife about the incident right away, but because Rebecca was already angry and thought that he didn't take Kayla to the ballet class, he decided not to say anything yet. After that, they both went to check on Kayla, who had vomited because she had lost her inhaler and was struggling to breathe. Afraid her condition might get worse, she was quickly taken home to Rebecca's house, and after she was given her asthma medication, she took a shower to calm down. It was in this moment that she finally told her mother everything that had happened, which left Rebecca completely shocked. After understanding everything that had happened, Jay and Rebecca discussed what they should do next to help their daughter. Jay wanted to hire a reliable lawyer to help Kayla during a trial, especially since she was still a minor. However, Rebecca felt it wouldn't be that easy because the law would likely view the act of pushing Brittany as murder. She also blamed Jay for not accompanying the girls into the woods in the first place. In her panic, Rebecca made up her mind to go back and look for Brittany along the river in the hope that she was still alive. But Jay immediately stopped her, arguing that Brittany would have certainly died from a broken neck or drowned after the fall, and even though she was still alive after the fall, by the time they started looking for her again, she would have suffered from hypothermia in the freezing water. He then reminded Rebecca that they had to work together to protect Kayla no matter what, so that their only child's life would not be destroyed, as he was convinced that Kayla did not push her friend on purpose, and pointed out that there were no eyewitnesses at the scene. Later that night, while sleeping, Rebecca had a nightmare about seeing the blue corpse of Brittany. The next morning, Jay returned to Rebecca's house. While Rebecca seemed to be acting as if everything was fine, as if everything that had happened the other day had never happened. After that, Jay mentioned the truck that had passed them the day before during the incident, noting that if the driver didn't remember his license plate, they would be safe. They planned to make an alibi that Kayla was sick at home at that time, and Jay had been in the forest alone. Meanwhile, Rebecca learned from Kayla that the trouble started because Brittany had flirted with Jay, and Kayla felt her father seemed interested in her friend. Unbeknownst to them, Kayla overheard them arguing about this, so she threw a tantrum and tried to run away from the house. She even accused her father of being the reason she pushed Brittany, which made Jay very mad. Not long after, Brittany's father, a man named Sam, suddenly showed up at their front door to ask about his daughter. In that moment, it was revealed that Sam was divorced and was raising Brittany on his own. However, he knew that he was not a good father, and he often fought with Brittany. Moreover, the truth was revealed that Brittany had run away from home several times before because she was unhappy with him. He further explained that the bruises Brittany had were from an argument where she accidentally fell and hit her face. He then showed that he regretted letting her take the bus to her ballet class instead of taking her there, and wanted to speak with Kayla to see if she knew anything about her missing daughter. However, afraid that Sam might learn about the incident, Rebecca lied and said that Kayla was at the hospital with Jay because she was not feeling well. Because of that, Sam eventually left his phone number and asked her to tell Kayla to call him as soon as she got home. Then, once he was gone, Rebecca broke down in tears as she tried to hold back her panic. A few moments later, because Sam kept calling her number, Rebecca finally asked Kayla to call him back immediately and pretend she did not know where Brittany was. However, strangely, Kayla was watching cartoons and laughing, showing no distress over what had happened to her friend despite her involvement in the incident. She also refused to make the call. Soon after, when Jay arrived, Rebecca told him about the earlier visit from Sam. Upon hearing that, Jay planned to take Kayla to a hotel for a few days to calm her down while they slowly figured out how to cover up Brittany's death. However, as Jay was putting bags in the car, Sam suddenly returned because no one was answering his calls. To make an alibi, Jay and Rebecca made up more excuses, saying that Kayla was still being treated at the hospital so that Sam would not see her. But things got bad because suddenly, Kayla ended up walking out of the house anyway. This made Sam realize something was wrong because Rebecca looked very tense, and they had clearly been caught lying. He then tried to approach Kayla to ask where his daughter was, but Jay kept holding him back. Eventually, Sam lost his temper and hit Jay in the face before promising to call the police immediately. While Rebecca was treating the wound on Jay's face, the two of them laughed together, as if they were remembering happy times from their past. But then Jay got an idea to incriminate Sam in front of the police. He suggested they use the bruises on the face of Brittany to corner Sam if he went to the police. At first, Rebecca did not want to accuse an innocent man of killing his own daughter, but since she wanted to protect Kayla, she eventually changed her mind and agreed with the idea. Then, to start the plan, she met with an acquaintance, who was a detective named Kenji, to report that Brittany, her daughter's friend, had been missing for about 24 hours. During that meeting, she also claimed that Sam, Brittany's father, had been acting strangely and suggested that he might have been abusive toward his own daughter. Meanwhile, at home, Jay went to Kayla while she was sitting alone and told her to follow everything he and Rebecca ordered for her own safety. It became clear that Kayla was actually jealous of Brittany because no one at school liked her, while Brittany was adored by many of the boys. Shortly after, Detective Kenji arrived to ask Kayla about the bruises on Brittany and when they had last seen each other. During the interrogation, Kayla confirmed there was a bruise on the right jaw of her friend and claimed that they had not met for 2 days. She also explained that Sam was a very temperamental man who often got angry and hit Brittany. Jay was quite shocked to find out that Kayla had lied about Sam being abusive without any help from him or Rebecca, meaning she had come up with those lies. Then, when he asked her about it, Kayla said she learned how to lie like that by watching Jay, who often lied to Rebecca. That night, Jay stayed at the house since Greg was still out of town, and when they chatted, Rebecca told him that in the 2 months since their divorce, Kayla had started to hurt herself, even though she used to be a very cheerful girl. The next morning, Detective Kenji and her assistant, Detective Barnes, visited Sam to ask about his daughter, Brittany. To them, Sam explained that he had already tried to file a missing person report, but the police did not take him seriously because Brittany had a history of running away. Moreover, he also had to wait for at least 48 hours before he could file a valid missing person report. But then, he became emotional when the detectives asked if he had ever hit his daughter, which he strongly denied, saying he had never done it. The situation became even more tense when Barnes began to judge Sam based on his background after finding out that he was from Pakistan. Meanwhile, at home, Jay and Kayla joked around together, and Rebecca smiled to herself to see how close they were. After that, Rebecca went to work while Jay took Kayla over to his house. When they arrived, they met Trini and the other band members. In that moment, Jay and Trini eventually got into an argument because Jay had forgotten their practice schedule for an important performance. To make matters worse, during the tension, she also found a pink bag that belonged to Brittany in the car with her broken cell phone inside. Upon seeing that, Jay quickly lied and claimed that the bag belonged to Kayla. Meanwhile, after hearing her father argue with Trini, Kayla decided to leave and walk back to Rebecca's house alone. On the other hand, Detective Kenji and Barnes visited Rebecca at her office to share the results of their meeting with Sam. However, what they concluded was not what Rebecca expected, because the two investigators were starting to become suspicious that the person behind the disappearance of Brittany was actually Jay. This was because the signal from Brittany's cell phone had been tracked to the city center, which was the same area where Jay lived. Furthermore, Sam had told them that he suspected Jay and Rebecca were covering something up since they refused to let him speak to Kayla. Moreover, after talking to Sam's neighbors, they also found that Sam was considered a good man and was not as temperamental as Rebecca had told them. However, Rebecca remained calm and continued to manipulate the detectives into believing that Sam was the suspicious one. On the other hand, while Kayla was walking home, Sam happened to pass by and saw her, so he stopped her to ask where Brittany was. As the situation was getting more chaotic with the police involved, Kayla got scared and screamed hysterically before running to Rebecca's house and ignoring him as he knocked on the door and called her name. Soon after, Jay and Rebecca arrived home, and in that moment, Rebecca immediately warned Jay that the police had tracked Brittany's phone to the city. Upon hearing that, Jay explained that the phone was in the pink bag, but the screen was cracked. At the same time, seeing her parents arguing, to cover her crime, Kayla started throwing another tantrum because she felt she was a bad person and the cause of all the chaos. On the other hand, Detective Kenji and Barnes arrived at the bus stop where Brittany had been waiting for the bus. After that, they also visited the nearby river bridge, which was the scene of the incident. Soon after finishing their investigation at the site, they returned to Jay and Rebecca for further questioning. During this interrogation session, it was revealed that Kayla actually had a boyfriend at school, but 2 weeks ago, she had accused Brittany of stealing him. She had even sent a threatening email to her friend saying that she would kill her. While it might have just been a dramatic chat over the phone, it was still considered a serious threat. Then, when Detective Kenji asked if Kayla had been at the river bridge the day Brittany was missing, Jay immediately lied and claimed that he had picked her up from Rebecca's office and gone straight to his house without stopping. However, Detective Kenji then showed him an inhaler with the name of Kayla on it, which she found near the bridge, meaning she had been at the crime scene. Feeling cornered and defensive, Rebecca immediately kicked the detectives out of her house. That night, Jay and Rebecca were utterly worried about what would happen to their daughter, but they remained determined to do anything to protect her. To do that, they drove to the house of Sam, where Jay planned to secretly bury Brittany's pink bag and her broken cell phone in the yard to frame Sam for the disappearance. However, things turned violent when Jay ended up attacking Sam, who witnessed what they were doing and nearly drowned him to death. In that moment, Sam said that he was certain that his daughter had not just disappeared, but had been killed by Kayla. As Jay and Rebecca tried to flee the scene in their car, Sam attempted to block their path. However, Rebecca, who was driving, was determined to get away, so she hit him with the vehicle. Even though Sam was actually still alive after being struck, Jay and Rebecca deliberately let him die to ensure he was silenced forever, entirely to protect Kayla. After burying Sam's body somewhere that morning, Jay and Rebecca looked anxious and terrified because they had become murderers. They could only hug each other to try and stay calm. Shortly after, when they sat down for breakfast with Kayla, their gazes were blank, and Rebecca even began to cry. Later, the two of them went outside to clean Sam's blood off their car, but then something completely unexpected happened. As they wiped off the car's body, Brittany suddenly showed up, perfectly fine and alive, and asked if Kayla was home while smiling, as if nothing had happened to her for the past few days. It turned out that she had deliberately arranged a plan with Kayla to fake her own disappearance because she just wanted to get away for a while to meet her boyfriend without being disturbed by anyone, including her father. Seeing her still alive, Jay and Rebecca stood in silence with mixed feelings before telling Brittany that she needed to go home immediately. Afterward, Jay and Rebecca confronted Kayla with emotional looks on their faces, and because there was no other way to cover up everything, Kayla finally admitted to the entire lie, saying that it was planned by Brittany. She explained that she had agreed to the stupid plan because she wanted to see her parents get close again. At first, she wanted to tell the truth to them, but when she saw them working together to protect her, she felt as if her family had become one again. So in the end, she decided to let the lie continue because she missed the times when she was little when they gave her all their attention. However, what she didn't realize was that the lie had caused a terrible chain of events, leading her parents to kill Sam. Now, Jay and Rebecca could only surrender because it was only a matter of time before their crimes were revealed. Not long after, police sirens were heard approaching the house, and the doorbell suddenly rang. It was clear that the police had either found Sam's body or Brittany had shared her suspicions. Soon, Jay and Rebecca would certainly be heading to jail.